Greetings from lovely Cincinnati, Ohio. We are your hosts, Joe Hoagland and Brandon Kelly, and this is JB Radio, leading the way in the millennial generation's conservative ideas.
We want to start off with some interesting news out of presidential politics, and that is Chuck Hagel is looking to be confirmed as the defense secretary. Now, we don't have much information from his confirmation hearing today, but what's come out of it is that he represented himself really poorly and that he looked like an amateur, is what some reports are saying. Now, this is really interesting because Hagel has faced a lot of backlash from some Republican leaders such as Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, and others who say his foreign policy is a disaster on terms like Israel, and saying that he won't defend Israel, and it's really weird though, because he seems pretty popular with the Democrats, but when he was in the Senate he was a Republican senator, and I don't know, when it's just an interesting dynamic. And so I guess what are they looking for in the defense secretary is I guess what they're looking at. And one of his quotes out of this was, "My overall worldview has never changed, that America has and must maintain the strongest military in the world, and we must lead the international community to confront threats and challenges together." And I guess that's what some Republicans are questioning, and including John McCain.
Yeah, I mean, for one of our biggest allies in Israel to not have the support of our defense secretary is interesting, because that's what the biggest backlash he's getting, because of his record on going and saying that he's not a Israeli politician, right. He's a United States politician, so therefore he doesn't want to deal with that. And with the rising of Iran and much of the Middle East, with the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas and all those, I would think that our defense secretary will want to keep strong ties with Israel, because of not only just because of the history that we've had, but strategically. Right. I mean, that's putting us in an area that we need to maintain national security. That's what I would think. I mean, we could debate all day on whether Israel is a good morality type of country or does the right thing in things, especially with the Palestinian conflict there. But in all reality, we as Americans want to protect ourselves, and with the rising of so many extremists in that area, I would think strategically we would want to keep good relations with Israel. So what is that even saying? Not only just to Israel, saying, wow, Obama, it's really coming out. I mean, they've known that he hasn't had the strongest of relationships with them. But I mean, we have to keep in mind, this is all public. Iran knows this. All the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, they all know what's going on in America in politics. So to me, if I was a leader of one of these organizations or leader of Egypt or something like that, I would be ecstatic about this.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, not only do we send them jets and tanks, we also employ somebody who's not going to be tough on them. At least that's what it seems.
Right. One of the things that McCain really questioned Hagel on was his opposition to the surge, which, objectively looking at the surge, it really did help us win in Iraq, and led to our military presence dwindling there and stuff. And Hagel he was an outspoken critic of it, and McCain kept asking him, he wanted a yes or no question. Did you support it?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't answer that question.
Right.
So, I mean, there's just some things that that Hagel, it's kind of scary to look at some of these his foreign relations record.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about with the defense secretary. It's
Exactly.
foreign politics, foreign relations, it's everything. Like that.
And I mean, Ted Cruz even said that his record against Israel demonstrates a greater antagonism for the state of Israel than any body, Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, I mean, he even gets flack from Democrats.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's just Republicans that don't like Hagel. It's both. It's both parties. So usually when you have that much backlash, it's saying something about that person. Like you can't get along with either one. How do we expect them to get along with foreign enemies? you know?
Exactly.
So we'll see how that turns out. Like you said, we don't know a whole lot that's going to come out of it, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And just looking at, the Senate's a mess, and a lot of our segment today is on the Senate. And something else, Senator Menendez, there was a report in the fall that he took trips to the Dominican and had sex with some underage prostitutes.
Yeah.
And the Dominican
Sex
Republic.
parties.
Yeah.
Not just a couple times.
Yeah.
But
Like 3 times. And he didn't disclose those trips at first. And his office told him he had to disclose those trips. And he said that, that he paid back the trips and that he didn't. He's denying the whole thing. But, I mean, it's going to ruin him if it comes out that he actually did. If there's some proof about it, I mean, you can't deny something that big and not have it affect. He says he's not going to resign over it though. So I don't know what are your thoughts on that, Brandon?
Well, I mean, there's the sources that are coming out are unnamed. That this particular source, this is coming from CNN.com. Take it as you will. This unnamed source said he has had this information about Senator Menendez as early as 2008, yet he didn't come forward until 4 years later, right before Senator Menendez was up for re-election. Further, this source refused to ever speak by phone to us with other news organizations or with the FBI, or those two facts combined to seriously undermine his credibility, is what Sloan said. So that's a little fishy. The fact that it was an unnamed source is even more fishy. But I mean, should we be surprised that one of our politicians, one of our senators, is up to this kind of activity? I mean,
not at all.
I mean, it just goes to show you that, well, we shouldn't be surprised when our country lacks morality, when our senators and our leaders are doing something like this. Now, innocent until proven guilty, so we'll find out. But they said that he was repeatedly flying on a private jet to the Dominican Republic and other locations and soliciting prostitutes.
Wow.
And many of them were underage. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's really not good.
Yeah, it's not good for Menendez or the country or the Senate.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a whole lot. No one really has a whole lot of information about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. And it's funny because the left is just trying to throw these accusations out as it's just coming from a right-wing blog. Like, they're totally right-wing nut jobs.
Yeah, that's what his office. That's their official statement, that it was just a right-wing blog.
And you know what? Just because somebody has a certain political slant doesn't necessarily mean that they're just lying about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even that naive to think that, Democrats lie about everything. Obviously they don't, or else, I mean, we catch them and somehow.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, he took the guy, the private plane was his friend's, which he can write off as he doesn't have to pay those back necessarily. He can use the friend clause in the Senate, which he's just riding on a plane with a friend.
Right.
But so why wouldn't he disclose that though, if he wasn't hiding anything? And that just, to me, that seems there's something up there. I mean, going to the Dominican on your friend's plane is different than going to the Dominican and having sex with underage prostitutes.
Right. I mean, that's a pretty big stretch.
Yeah.
And also, the first, with them saying it was a right-wing blog, well, there was another website organization that came out, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, known as CREW.
Yeah.
That was the one who I quoted, Melanie Sloan. And I mean, there's stuff on the internet that accused CREW, the website organization, of being left-wing.
Right.
So when you have, like we were even talking about with Hagel, when you have both sides criticizing somebody or coming out with the same information, then you need to be obviously aware that this could be definitely true.
Yeah.
And obviously Menendez is going to deny it, just probably on the hope that if this is true, that it'll just go away. Yeah.
There's nothing to prove it. I mean, he's doing the smart thing.
Yeah. I mean, how can we prove it? That's so.
Yeah. I mean, the FBI is all over it, so we'll see if they can find it. If anyone can find anything, it'd be them. So they were actually today. They were raiding it's his friend's an eye doctor or something. They're raiding his office.
Yeah. So. This is scary. I mean, what is the world coming to, Joe? I mean, really. Not only do you have to just go to a prostitute, but you have to fly all the way to the Dominican Republic to do it. So obviously, if we come out and find out that he was in fact making these trips, then that even goes forth on why. We can ask him why he was.
Well, it's illegal there and less chance of getting caught.
Right.
I mean, you got it, or you got power and money, you got rich friends. Mm-hmm. So I mean.
But why would he need to go to the Dominican Republic? Just for vacation? I mean, maybe, but.
Yeah.
To me, things to just be cautious about is that the fact that this person, whoever it was, had the information for 4 years and decided to just now come out with it. So, but you have the other side that is coming out with the same information, but and the Senate Ethics Committee won't even confirm whether they're investigating or not. So that's, I don't know. I guess you take that how you want to, but
yeah.
Time will tell, I guess. Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, Melanie Sloan also said that the issue of the trips alone are probably not enough to suggest that he doesn't have the right to assume the chairmanship of the Foreign Relations Committee, because that's what he's seeking.
Yeah, I saw that.
She says, I think if all the allegations together prove to be true, that would certainly suggest questions about Senator Menendez's fitness for the chairmanship and perhaps even his position in the Senate. So, I mean, could they prosecute him for this, since it is legal in Dominican Republic?
I mean, there probably is some kind of ethics Senate. I mean, probably for like something, I don't know. I mean, going to the Dominican. I mean, an American citizen going to the Dominican and having sex with a prostitute isn't illegal. But the fact that he used his power to use a private plane to fly to the Dominican and then disclose it. Like, there's probably some kind of ethics violation he committed or something.
Yeah, so I wonder what would happen if they do find that these are all true.
Right.
Yeah, like
he definitely shouldn't be a senator if it's true.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't think so.
Right.
Some people may like that about him. I don't know. Going on with the news about the Senate, we want to talk a little bit about the gun control debate that's still going on. That's not going to go away anytime soon.
It's like, I mean, conservative shows, I guess, we get kind of a bad rap for talking about it, but when people are bringing up, we got gun control, I mean, you got to have another side of the voice on it. I mean, we're not keeping the fire burning. It's the other side that's keeping the fire burning. So we gotta put common sense into the equation.
Well, one of the things that I just don't get is Obama's hometown, Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
the city with like one of the toughest gun laws. Guess what? They're also high in murder rate.
Right.
So have these laws actually done anything? Because that's what we want to think that Democrats are trying to push. That's why they want to push for it.
Yeah.
Is so that there will be less instances like Sandy Hook, like Newtown. But if we find out, which there's plenty of studies to show, that higher gun laws, more gun restrictions don't actually accomplish less crime,
Yeah.
then maybe there's a deeper motivation for the gun control. I think it's control. I think that's what it comes down to. That's what it boils down to. It's this ideology that the government knows what's best for people, and that it's best for the government to take care of people than it is for them to take care of themselves, because they know best.
Yeah.
And so this kind of view would say, you don't need guns. The military has guns. The policemen have guns. And why do you need that when you could just call 911 and they'll be there in a jiff, right?
Exactly.
But we all know that anybody's dialed 911 many times. If you're in a city, it could take 30 minutes for them to get there.
Right.
I mean, if it hasn't been confirmed that somebody is in your house, or if something's really going on, it's going to take them a while to get there.
Yeah. There's no substitute for defending yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can. There is no one has the right to walk into anyone's home and have the upper hand over them.
Right.
So it's just common sense that you'd be able to defend yourself with something. You can't limit to assault weapons or whatever the keyword they're trying to say out there, because then a law-abiding citizen is not going to have that, because we're following the law.
Right.
And then when someone comes in with an assault weapon in your house, then you're standing there with your clip under 7, and
what happens if 2 people come in?
Yeah.
And you're not like
and they have weapons that you're not allowed to have. I don't know. It's just and something that's been in the news lately is the Independent Women's Forum, or whatever it's called. One of their lawyers testified before Congress, or before the Senate, and she said it's woman, it's taking women's rights to not let them be armed with a clip over 10 because they need to defend themselves. And I mean, she's just getting raked to the coals because women aren't. She's implying that women are weaker than men. And there's no difference between a man and a woman in defending themselves. Well, that's not true. I mean, if you want to call it human nature, or if you just want to call it nurture, I mean, it's a fact that men are stronger than women generally.
Yeah, on average.
So saying that that's not the case, I mean, you might not want it to be the case, but that is the case. That's the fact.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, it bothers me that we can't just come to a reasonable conclusion on these things, that common sense, which I've said this many times, common sense, we need to use that phrase pretty lightly, because we're pretty much finding that not a lot of people have sense that is common.
There's not much left. There's not much left.
I mean, for the city of Chicago, in the month of January only, there's been 42 murders.
Yeah.
And this is old stats. I mean, this is from yesterday.
Probably was like 10 more yesterday or something.
Wait, no, that was from today. Okay, so that 42, unless something's happened in the last like 4 hours,
right?
Which it could have. There's been 42 murders in Chicago alone. Last year they had 506 murders in a whole year. Why can we have the toughest gun laws in the city and then still have so many murders? They don't have the guns, right? If there's tougher gun laws, then obviously murders aren't happening. But no, I think the number one weapon for a murder is a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So what's next? A Louisville Slugger? We can't have those.
Yeah, I mean, in Japan they have really strict gun control there, and there was more murders by scissors last year than there was guns. So what? Man, get scissors.
I think there's more. You're more likely to fall down and die than you are to get shot and die. Than you are to get murdered by a gun.
Right.
So there's more to the gun control debate than what people feel, because I think it's disingenuous to take hold of a tragedy and further your agenda, because they've had this on their books, I'm sure, for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But they haven't done anything about it. Why? Why haven't they tried to implement these things before Sandy Hook? No, they waited until the general public would be feeling very emotionally stunted towards it.
Exactly.
To further their agenda. So, that's the whole Marxist system, that you never let you never let a tragedy go to waste. You use it to further your agenda.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you're going to do. So, let's just say on the small likelihood that this is going to get passed, gun control.
Yeah.
The stiffer laws and the whole bill, Feinstein's bill. Let's say it increases, tragedies increase. So not only do we, so maybe instead of assault weapons, we take away people's handguns, and so people are left to no guns.
Right.
So where does it stop? Because obviously this legislation wouldn't stop these things from happening. It actually increase these things to happen, because law-abiding citizens are not going to have them.
Yeah.
And gun crime is higher in places where it's like gun-free zones. So what's next? Because we're dealing with progressives.
Yeah.
So they always think, it's like chess. They think like 6 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Which, kudos to them, because I think that's why they've been able to be so successful, because people don't realize that every step is to get to a ulterior, ultimate goal in the end.
Yeah.
And we just think of it as a good solution when we don't actually look at the facts. So why are we even having this debate? I don't think we should have this debate, but we are, so we have to deal with it, obviously. And it's obviously not going to go away, because with as many things that are going to be, every gun crime that is going to happen that involves... Well, here's one thing that's interesting. In Chicago, say a black guy kills a black guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be in the news. Say a white guy kills a white guy. That's going to be in the news.
No.
Say a Hispanic kills a Hispanic. It's not going to be in the news. But say a black guy kills a white guy, that's going to be in the news. Say a white guy kills a Hispanic, that's going to be in the news. So why the double standard?
Yeah.
Why aren't we reporting all of these things? Because you know dang well that all 42 of these murders aren't going really in the spotlight of local news.
Right.
They're not. So it really doesn't further their agenda to address gang violence, because these people aren't having guns that are purchased. They're by a gun license or whatever. So all that to say, it continues. And you said something about Obama skeet shooting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that, because that sounded really interesting.
He said in a press conference that someone asked him a question. He goes, "Yeah, I skeet shoot all the time at Camp David. I like to do that." He said, "And I greatly support the history of hunting in this country, and anyone who says otherwise isn't looking at my body of work or whatever." And there was a source, unnamed source again, so whatever, take it with a grain of salt. But he said he works at Camp David, and or she, and he or she said that the only time Obama's ever gone skeet shooting at Camp David was during the Marine
President's Cup.
Yeah, President's Cup.
Yeah.
And that's a competition with his guards or his Marine guards or whatever. And the source said that he looked so uncomfortable and he was gone within 5 minutes. And so, yeah, that's skeet shooting all the time there, President Obama.
Yeah.
And, it's not like, I don't care. I don't care if the guy skeet shoots. I really don't, but don't come out and say it to give you credibility.
Yeah, why lie?
With these people that you want to take their guns. Oh, cool, you skeet shoot, but you really don't.
Well, here's something. He was in an interview. They asked him, "Have you ever fired a gun?" And he said, "Yes." In fact, up at Camp David, like you were saying, we do skeet shooting all the time. The whole family? He said, "Not the girls." Not the girls, but oftentimes guests of mine go up there. And I have a profound respect for traditions of hunting that trace back in this country for generations. And I think those who dismiss that out of hand make a big mistake.
Right.
So if it's true that
he doesn't let the girls go skeet shooting though.
Right. And there's a picture of him running around a pool with a water gun. So that's to be pretty upsetting for anybody who's advocating gun control. Especially when we have kids who are making guns with their fingers and getting suspended for it. That should definitely be concerning when our own president isn't practicing what he's preaching.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I've gone skeet shooting, shot clay pigeons, all that stuff. It's not that hard. And I don't
it shouldn't make you uncomfortable.
I mean, it's not that hard. You aim and shoot.
We need to invest in a soundproof studio, Brandon.
Yes. Any listeners out there that want to contribute to a soundproof studio, that would be
we're taking donations.
Much appreciated. So to continue with our Senate theme here, they've been delaying the debt limit again. One thing that we'll get to in a minute is the fact that they haven't addressed the budget at all.
Yeah. Well, they kind of have now, actually.
Have they?
They passed a bill that's the whole no budget, no pay bill.
Well, the House is saying that, I think.
No, the Senate passed it today.
Oh, they did?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Senate passed a debt ceiling, no budget, no pay bill. It's from Politico.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good news.
But that also, in that bill, that moved back the debt ceiling. So now they have until April 15th.
Whoa, really? Okay.
So I'm sure they'll pass something by April 15th. That'll push it back to August 6th.
Right, it's just a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. For you people who are listening to this, let me ask you a question. Do you do a budget? And if you don't, I would highly recommend that you do, because it helps you stretch your money as far as it can go. But let me ask you a question. If you work for a company, they have a budget. If you are responsible with your finances, you have a budget.
Right.
Any organization has a budget.
Yeah, any thriving organization or even just hanging on organization has a budget.
Yeah. And so why is it that we have elected individuals who probably have a budget at home but refuse to pass a budget until now, obviously, apparently, maybe, we'll see, as their job?
Right.
If you were an accountant in your organization, you would be fired. It's simple. Budgeting is not that hard. I mean, I know it's complex because it's on the scale of the federal government, which is totally inefficient. Yeah. But how do you know even what you're bringing in and what you're paying out? That's a budget. It's your receivables to your payables.
Right.
And that's all it is. It's very simple. And so if you don't have that, then no wonder why we have so much debt. No wonder why we have to have a raising of the debt ceiling, because we have no ability to pay for it ourselves.
Exactly.
So this is just it's ridiculous, and we've grown used to it. So people are just like, oh,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
But let's think about that. It's so stupid to not have a budget as a country.
Yeah, it's completely inconceivable how they just let this go. Like, I don't even know, I don't know what. See, the general public, we can't do anything about it, and that's why. And people So people don't want to. Well, okay, you can do something about it. You can tell, call your senator, email your senator, stuff like that. But it's not going to do much in the long scale term, unless it's a concerted effort, and people don't want to put that effort into it.
Yeah.
So there's no one leading the charge on this.
Well, let's just think about this idea of no budget, no pay. Wouldn't that be just like given? Shouldn't that be given?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how to make it much simpler than.
If Apple didn't come up with a budget, I would hope their CEO wasn't getting paid.
Right. And so when you have an organization that is failing financially, is failing in efficiency, you have to look at the leader.
Yeah.
Everything rises and falls on leadership, John Maxwell says. And so we need to be looking at our leaders to do their job. That's what they are put in place to do. To not only pass bills and make our country better, but to be able to take care of our finances so that people, our U.S. citizens, aren't paying on it for 70 years down the road.
Right.
Paying on higher taxes so that they can pay for the mistakes of the generation before them. So as millennials, if you are young and you care about how much you make, how much you're able to take home, not only does a bad financial standpoint for the country impact the debt that we have, but it also lowers the value of our dollar.
Exactly.
And it lowers the amount of global presence that we have in the world.
Our credit ratings.
Yeah.
They're not going up anytime soon.
No, and the dollar's going to continue dropping, so what you have in your bank account, say you have $100 in there, well, it's going to be worth $80 tomorrow. And then the next day it's going to be worth $60, and it's just going to continue.
Exactly.
And then before too long, it is what it is. It's paper.
Yeah.
And it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
We have a careless government who does not back their financials with anything of value anymore. Yeah. We just print money. Because why? Because we don't have a budget. It's pretty simple. People who fall into debt, they don't budget.
Exactly.
It plays into personal finances easily. Again, sorry for the background noise.
Yeah, we got a lot of it.
It's our in-studio audience, folks.
Yes, they love it.
Yeah, man, we could go on forever about the failures of our government, especially in passing budgets and just looking at the wrong issues and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is old news in a sense.
Old news, but relevant news.
Yeah, it's something that's always going to be relevant.
Yeah.
As long as it's news. The last thing that I wanted to address is Al Gore's comments on eugenics. Now, if you don't know what eugenics is, I'll try and explain it to you. Maybe I'll just read a quote from him. He was on MSNBC, and this is what he said, okay? Al Gore. End quote. The scientists now know that there is in human nature a divide between what we sometimes call liberals and conservatives, and it gives an advantage, you can speculate, remember that part, to the human species to have some people who are temperamentally inclined to try to change the future and experiment with new things, as in progressives, and others who are temperamentally inclined to say, wait a minute, not too fast, as in conservatives. I'm going to try and get to another one of his quotes because it really tells you a lot of the standpoint that this comes on. He talked about how, basically the gist of it is this. Scientists have proven through eugenics that based on someone's genetics, that determines whether they are conservative or liberal or progressive is what they want to say. And so that they can prove that people are born with a political stance from the beginning. That and it's the same thing in determining whether somebody is going to be a worthwhile citizen, if they're going to have attributes that are worthwhile to the greater good of of society. It's a very slippery slope, and Joe, I think you have some quotes from Eugenics. What's the gentleman's name that was really
George
well
Bernard Shaw.
Yeah. You want to share some of those?
Well, I don't have the exact quotes here, but basically,
George Bernard Shaw. You may have heard of him.
yeah, he had a speech where he said, you can look this up on YouTube, if you don't trust me. He said, for the greater good of society, we should have these councils every 2 to 5 years where you go and you have to prove your worth to society.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, and if you don't prove your worth, you get exterminated.
Exterminated, as in killed.
This guy is like Hollywood's hero, George Bernard Shaw. I mean, you go to college campuses and his quotes are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just known as a great figure in progressivism.
So let's get to the point of eugenics. Basically, what this is doing is it's limiting or it's diminishing the sanctity of life.
Right.
It has no respect for of life. And if you come at this perspective from God as creator, that everybody is uniquely and wonderfully made, that God is no respecter of persons, so everybody is created equal, that throws that out of the door. So if I said to you, Joe, you are not worth as much as Billy over here. You know why? Because he was born a certain way.
Right.
He has this certain attribute. As in, he's a progressive.
Yeah.
So he's more valuable to society than you are because you are hurting progress.
Exactly.
You are hurting us from progressing towards greater good, greater common good. And it's hard for me to do this justice because eugenics is the same philosophy that fueled Hitler's war on Jews.
Yeah, exactly.
That was his basic belief, and he was able to get scientists to tell him this is real. This is true. Mind you, eugenics has been disproven a long time ago.
Yeah.
But Hitler used this scientific evidence to justify his acts against Jews in the Holocaust. So George Herbert Shaw, did I say his name right?
Bernard Shaw.
George Bernard Shaw. Sorry about that. George Bernard Shaw was one of the people that recommended that for these people who did not contribute to the greater good of society, that they should be terminated.
Right.
So as in the gas chambers, as in what was used to kill millions of Jews.
Right.
So think about what Al Gore is saying in this, because that's the same line of thinking. Now, they don't want to come out and say it fully, because then everybody would know the truth about what they're saying.
Right.
But they're going to incrementally try to push this.
Yeah. I just want to. This is as groundbreaking for Al Gore as inventing the internet and
global warming.
Yeah, and raising awareness of global warming. I mean, the guy's a genius.
He is, man.
I can't get over how radical and breaking how much ground he breaks.
Yeah, he's smarter than Hitler.
What I'm reading right now on eugenics, in its prime, it was supported by Winston Churchill, Margaret Sanger, H.G. Wells, Theodore Roosevelt, George Bernard Shaw, John Maynard Keynes, all these people. And also something, actually in Star Trek there is a eugenics war. The result of a scientific attempt to improve the human race through selective breeding and genetic engineering. The wars devastated parts of Earth, by some estimates officially causing some 30 million deaths and nearly plunging the planet into a new dark age.
Yeah. I mean, it's population control is what it is. We decide who is the desired type of person, and we do everything in our power to get that person to be the common person.
Yeah.
I was going to go somewhere with that. One thing that I wanted to bring up is the fact that it's commonplace today to refer to postmodernism and how culture really influences what people believe and things like that. So eugenics goes totally against that. So let me give you an example, Joe. Let's say John, for example. Let's just use a regular name like John. Right. John grows up. He's born into a Democrat-leaning family, and he grows up to be 16 years old. He has things that his dad has taught him, and he regurgitates those to his friends. And then when he gets to the age of 18, he votes for a Democratic nominee, and he just Democrat all the way. And then he goes after college. He gets fed more of these ideas, and then he goes and after college he listens. Let's say he listens to talk radio, and he's influenced by the talk show host or whoever it may be, and he decides that and he makes a decision that, you know what, I've had it wrong this whole time. I think conservatism is the way to go. Right. And so he starts voting conservatively. Yeah. And then we have another case where Jane or Jill, let's say Jill, grows up in a conservative home and then goes to college and receives the ideology of the liberal view and decides to start voting that way after college. Yeah. What would genetics say about their switch? What would we have to say? Well, that debunks it right there, at least in my thinking. Right. Understanding what eugenics is and what it tries to say. Eugenics is basically that we are predetermined who we'll vote for, how we'll vote, how we'll live, what we'll do, and that doesn't really line up with real life.
No, and even if it did, even like what's the point? Even if our you say eugenics was real, and I was born, I'm a conservative because I was born a conservative. Mm-hmm. Okay, so why does it matter? I mean, what? That the only reason it matters is if you want to get rid of people.
Well, that's why it matters. That's exactly why it matters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so I don't even understand I don't know why.
Well, this is something Al Gore also said this. I think first of all, scientists now know that there is in human nature a divide between what we sometimes call liberals and conservatives, and it gives an advantage, you can speculate, to the human species to have some people who are temperamentally inclined, and it goes on to the quote that I used earlier, but that there's a divide between what we sometimes call liberals and conservatives. Really?
No.
Really? Duh.
I would have never guessed.
Wow, that's groundbreaking, Mr. Gore. But his whole premise is off speculation. So just take that with a grain of salt. So just our goal here is to not only just talk about the news things, give you a specific kind of avenue to think about it, but also to make you aware of some of these things and where they're coming from, right. And the foundation on which it brings. So just listen to what people say, and don't just regurgitate what we say or right. what MSNBC says or Fox News says, for that matter. Critically think about things. Yeah. We have a society that takes in so much information that all they do is just regurgitate things.
Yeah, they learn from source A and source B, and then they just recite what they learned from source A and source B. Or if they disagree, then they don't critically think about why they disagree. They just take whatever they thought before and just regurgitate that. There's no critical thinking is such a lost art in our culture today.
Yeah, because everybody makes decisions. A lot of people make decisions based on feelings and emotions rather than logic and reason. Yeah. So we just want to encourage you to not just watch Fox News. Watch CNN, watch MSNBC, and see for yourself where the truth lies, and investigate things, look into things. It was funny. Joe and I decided to do this while watching MSNBC.
Yeah.
And mind you, if you ever watch late night programming on MSNBC, it's hilarious and it's good entertainment. But don't I guess shy yourself away from those things just because people disagree with you. I think you can grow a lot by interacting with people who disagree with you.
Yeah.
A lot.
So we think that listen to a bunch of different sources and bring that in for yourself. Don't just rely on one source. But do and always feel free to disagree with people. So we're gonna wrap up the show for this week. Thanks for listening to us. We also have another segment that we're going to put up tonight based on should a Christian advocate for socialism or capitalism. If you want to hear our thoughts on that, it's like a little 5-minute segment. Just tune in on that. If you want to, we definitely want you to contact us. Email us at info.jbradio@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/thejbradio. On there, you can link to our Twitter page and our YouTube page. Just keep in contact with us. And for Brandon Kelly, I'm Joe Hoagland, and thanks for listening.